Still eating. But today's Brookie's birthday. So
Happy birthday.
We are live, but I'm going to say hi to Brookie and wish her a happy birthday. Let's see. Yeah, Anthony said ready to go. I don't know where he's ready to go to.
It's no worries. We are live and here. Hello, everyone.
Are we?
We are good in public.
Yay, we're public. Woohoo. Okay. We are public. Hi, Thomas. Welcome to Crossroads. I'm Jody, and we have Debbie and John as my co-host tonight, and our special guest tonight is Mr. James Anito. Woohoo!
Woo!
Who's all blurry, and I don't know what he's doing in there.
I don't know what's going on tonight. It's so weird. This has never happened before.
Of course, it would happen. It happens tonight, right?
Gotta love it.
It is very interesting for sure.
Well, at least we can still hear him.
Yeah, that's good. And that background's just so weird. At least you're sharp.
Yeah, it's my room's not too clean right now, so.
How you doing, James? Haven't seen you since the summer.
I know, right? It's only been like 2 weeks now, I think, right? How long it's been?
Yeah, something like that.
Time goes by fast, so.
Hi, Amanda.
But I've been doing good. I'm busy. The two kids keep me busy all the time. Plus, Mike.
I can imagine, for sure.
Someday you'll imagine, John.
Oh,
yeah, I know 3, so I know 2 is.
You will join.
2's a handful.
Yeah, I had 4.
Oh, geez. I couldn't imagine.
And now I have 5 grandbabies, so I just spoil them and send them home.
Load them with chocolate, right?
Load them with chocolate.
That's what we were just talking about.
That's part of my children here.
Yep. You have to. You got to load them with chocolate and then send them home and let them just bounce off the walls at home.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, give your children the pain that you dealt with, right?
Yep. So how did you do at the Selma? Did you have fun?
Yeah, no, it was a great time. It's been a long time from that point when I was actually there, so it was a lot of great memories that kind of tidal waved in. The past is a distance sometimes when things are going so far in the future, and it's every day's blurring by. But no, it was great. It was great to see everybody, including you guys, and of course, Debbie, you weren't there, but you were there in spirit with us, and
we were thinking about you,
everybody,
Debbie.
and it's been quite a few years since I've been there.
So what did you talk about since I missed it?
About you?
No. Him. James, what did you talk about?
I'm just messing with you.
Well, I had the pleasure to there's Anthony.
Right.
It's about time.
But I had the yeah.
Yeah.
What are you drinking? Another one. Yeah,
it doesn't look like soda.
Just a Pepsi Zero. It's soda.
Oh, okay. All right.
There you go.
You could tell
I drink once a week, and that's what I contain it to. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but what's Anthony drinking?
Beck's.
Oh, I can.
A German beer.
Oh, Beck's.
Yeah, they better pay us. Yeah, that's a plug.
Gonna get commission on that.
Hey, that's a good. That's good
I'll
beer.
contact him immediately.
I prefer Beck's over Heineken, so good choice.
Yeah, it's like very similar taste. Yeah, Beck's is a little more mild.
It is.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, to Debbie, to answer your question, is I had the pleasure to speak with John, Sabrina, and Athena, and we did a kind of spiritual warfare journey panel, which is great. You know, we all have different levels of experience, but also different outlooks of it. And we came together and told our stories, and I believe what the trials and tribulations we went through our lives of doing it, and I think it was a great talk, and we all learned something from each other that day, and I think we also bonded even more from that, which is always a great thing in the paranormal field when there's a lot more turmoil going on. When you actually can come together, band together to talk about something and your journeys and see how similar it actually is, even though from different walks of life. I think the people that watched us learned something, but I think we all learned something about each other as well. Was important.
Did you get a lot of people asking questions, James?
Well, we had a mild crowd, but there was, I think, if I remember correctly, there was a few questions. I know Anthony intertwined some questions because you know how he is. He's very inquisitive, and I love it. So Anthony introduced some questions, and it was. I think we got a little bit of on a tangent talk after, which was nice, which I think was great as well. So, I think like a session like that for like I'm not saying it was a successful event. We raised money for Selma, but I would love to had like somebody put that on live, and we could have got some live questions or something. But you know what it is
That's
at the
an
end of the
idea.
day, regardless of the crowd, yeah,
There
but
you
at the end
go,
of the day,
Anthony.
I've come to the
There's an
realization.
idea.
I've come to the realization after doing it for so long and speaking for so long is that it's not about the crowd of the size of the crowd, but it's about one person that you can impact. And I'm pretty sure we probably
Exactly.
did that. So
Yeah, I like that idea though, going live for those things. That's a really good idea. When's the next psychic fair, Anthony? Do you just have anything
I don't
planned?
know if they're still doing it next year or not. It's I'm not the person to talk to with that.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
I thought maybe Sabrina talked to you a little bit.
No, I don't know. Yeah, she did a little bit, and she's not 100% sure if it's. I think that might have been the last year.
No.
Yeah.
Why? I think.
Well, it's stuff I probably shouldn't talk about because I'm not an official member of the board. That's the thing,
It's such a good event.
Bill passed away, and that really changed a lot of things with that. So, I know it's a good event, but
yeah,
behind the scenes, there's more to it. Obviously, the Northtown Preservation Society has a lot of say in it, and who's a member, who's part of it, what they can do. So I don't know.
That's such a shame.
Yeah, it's tough. I thought when they did the 2 days, I thought that was very successful. So if people didn't make it the first day, they'd come the second day, Sunday.
Right.
And they were blown away about the attendance when they had that, and they did very well.
Yeah.
Very well for Selma. Readers did very well. Vendors did very well. So I said, "Why didn't you do 2 days this year?" I didn't have an answer in that. So
I just really think the psychic fair is a good event for Selma. It really is.
It is. I do. Yeah, I do.
I will say that out of all the years and out of all the events, and James, I'm sure you can attest to this too from seeing it, either in person or online, is that the psychic fair, in my opinion, is one of the most successful events that Selma has ever put on. And for that to obviously potentially disappear would be very devastating. But there are a lot of behind the scenes things obviously that go into it, no matter where. And it's not even just like, of course, Selma. It's there. Every location that works with the historical society, they're similar in that aspect. And it just comes down to what is working well and making sure things are following in the path that it's wanting to go into. But I think that, and we've had this discussion, of course, and James, you can chime in on this too, is all these different historical locations that are doing fundraising events and things like that. You're seeing more and more, obviously, historically, that type of knowledge is what's really meant to kind of live on in these facilities, but you can't deny the aspect of the paranormal community and the ability of fundraising to help them pay their bills. So
Look at Eastern State.
correct. Yeah, exactly.
There you go, Anthony. I had to bring it up.
So Wes actually is on here too. Wes Coleman. He said, "Greetings from maple syrup country, from Canada."
Hi, Wes. I miss you.
That's a joke towards me mostly, because every time I see Wes or talk to Wes, I ask for maple syrup. Sorry to interrupt, John.
Is that what it was? So you saw him at the bash, and did he give you some maple syrup?
Yeah. No. So actually, no. Many years ago, actually, it'd be funny enough if Wes is still watching. But here's actually the maple syrup he gave me. You can let me get in the front of the camera.
Oh my God!
Really? Stevie's. It's from Canada.
Oh my God!
Blurry, but
that is too much. That I love it.
I always have it next to me, so I remember Wes all the time.
See, he loves you, Wes. He carries your maple syrup everywhere.
See now we're looking at this. James is the favorite. James gets the maple syrup, so I see how it is. Where's our maple syrup there?
I thought you loved me, Wessie. I didn't get any maple syrup.
All right, he's gonna come in with a whole case from somewhere maple syrup.
I see him,
and just be like, here's your little cup. Here's all this. Here's all that.
Oh, I love it.
So but I will also, because we're just talking about summer really quick, I want to put out a little plug here. They did just transition and update their Facebook page. So if you aren't following Selma Mansion on Facebook, I will put it here in the comments so you can go and like the page. It used to be the Norristown Preservation Society / Selma Mansion, and they transitioned it to Selma Mansion of Norristown so they can highlight more of their events and kind of have a better depiction of their paranormal aspect of what they're doing there. So I just want to put a little plug out there.
Don't get rid of the psychic fair people from Selma.
Listen to the people.
People love it. They come there and they get read and they meet new people, and I think it's a great event. Because wasn't it, Anthony? They didn't have it for a couple years.
Yeah, was it because of COVID? Oh well, Bill's passing. I just had to take a break because of that, I believe, in COVID.
Yeah.
Lockdowns.
And they finally have it, and then they don't want to have it anymore.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what.
It depends on the politics of it.
The politics of it with involving.
We're going to walk around with signs.
Oh, so we're going to pick it.
Make this person a member. Make this. No.
What do you think, Debbie? We're going to pick it. You help me make signs?
I think we know.
Yep, I can help you with that.
Okay.
It's about, it's a lot about power. You know how it goes.
I know. But look at how much money they raised for the Selma. Look how much money.
There's a lot of, there's a lot about management and what you can do, supposedly what you can't do.
I know.
It's fun and games, of course. So Thomas Patrick Gormley says, "What's up, Jimmy? See you soon, my brother."
Can you see the chat, James?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to
I can. Yes, I love Thomas. Yeah, he's running. To give a plug for Thomas, we just announced that Father Bob and I, our lecture series "Faith and Reason" is going to be appearing at his event with Charles called Shadows of Salem, which is at the Salem University on Saturday. Well, well, it's Friday through Sunday, but me and Father Bob will only be there Saturday and Sunday. But Saturday it's at Salem University, and then on Sunday it's at the Salem Waterfront Hotel. But as well on Friday it's the Salem Waterfront Hotel. So they're switching locations in the midst. They can do lectures at Salem University, and I spoke there last year, and it was a tremendous event. So now they kind of renamed it and add a little bit more of a horror element to it. I guess they're doing the 50th anniversary of Texas Chainsaw Massacre there, so they're going to have some of the people from that movie there as well, which is
50
cool.
years already. Wow.
I know,
I
right?
feel really
we're
old.
old, Jody. We're old.
I feel really old, Debbie. I do. That just put me right over the top when you said 50 years. Wow.
It's funny. So, James, so for those who don't know who you are and what you do, who are watching live or who wants the replay, can you give a little rundown as far as who you are, how you got into working in demonology and the Dominion ministry?
Yep. We want to hear it, man.
Yeah, so so give a little rundown, quick summary of who I am, because we could take the whole show about my 20 years involvement and all the crazy shit I've done. But
That's
so
what the
yes,
show's
my name is
about
James
tonight.
That's
Anito.
okay.
I
You're right.
am
Bring it on.
This is your hour, James.
no,
This is
so there's so many more privy topics we can talk about than myself, but what's it called? So I am a demonologist. That is what I'm most known for. So basically, what demonology is the study of the lore and cultural traditions of wicked spirits throughout culture, and I've been doing that for the past 14 years of my life, and as well dealing with those kind of cases, as well lecturing around the country from the East Coast to the West Coast, talking about the topic, the misconceptions, my case experiences, and of course my workings with other proclaimed demonologists throughout the country. I'm also the New England supervisor for PPRI, which is a nonprofit parapsychology group, and a legit parapsychology group out of Canada and New England. They are nonprofit in Nova Scotia, Canada, and as well Massachusetts, as in New England. So I'm the New England supervisor for that group as well. A partner in Faith and Reason, which is Father Bob and I. Father Bob is actually a Roman Catholic priest for the past 31 years. He's now retired, but we go around starting October. We've been working together for the past year, but we just coined Faith and Reason as our new lecture series to kind of have a spin of faith and a spin of reason. And so we had actually gotten back together and we founded his organization, Presidium Warriors of St. Michael. It was absorbed by PPRI. And now me and him are on a goal to lecture about the topic with his 31 years of experience being a deliverance minister. I'm a Catholic priest, and my experiences as well as a demonologist and a paranormal investigator. So basically what I have going on right now, as far as like what got me into it, I don't have a similar story to most. It wasn't that I lived in a haunted house, have abilities. It was really childhood trauma, and it was really more so questioning faith and God. And I would like to say when I was younger, I wasn't really agnostic or atheist. I like to call myself was a Darwinist. I was really into evolutionary biology when I was a kid, oddly enough. And so I would look at the scientific research theology as a kid as soon as I could touch a library and cognitively understand what I was reading. And so I just kind of fell into paranormal investigating because I read a lot of books on Hans Holzer. I'm a big fan of Charles Dickens, who was actual paranormal investigator, part of the Ghost Club in the late 1800s, with Arthur Conan Doyle, Charles Babbage, and the list of smart people that were a part of that as well. So I basically started investigating when I was 14 years old. And really what kind of catapulted me into that, though, was I live in Rhode Island, and there's a famous show that came out many, many moons ago called Ghost Hunters. So then it kind of really stabilized to me that this isn't just in books, and there aren't just kind of silly shows out there, because there were a few shows out there before Ghost Hunters, Scariest Places on Earth, where they sent families into haunted locations. And we all know to this day that show was rigged, very extremely. So, but you also had Most Haunted, which was a British show that was predated Ghost Hunters by a year. But when kind of you're young and you see that foundation that local people do this too. It's not just small sectors within the continent of North America or over in England or the United Kingdom or in Europe. So it really just catapulted me to that. And then I just met the right people, got intertwined with the idea of theodicies, good and evil, and found my faith. And then I became a minister. Well, I was a pastoral assistant with the local Church of Christ, and then I became a deliverance minister with them, and that's kind of really what sealed the deal with getting into demonology, because I was in the ministry work. So why not study it full-fledged and work with people, and just kind of engulfed my life more than I ever thought it would. It's not one day you wake up when you're a kid, say, I'm going to be a demonologist, or I'm going to be this or that. It didn't come to my mind. I never thought of it, so to say. Like I do tell some people, like, there was two things I wanted to be when I was a kid. One more was more realistic, and that was being a police officer. And I never accomplished that goal. I came close to it, but and then the other one was a priest, but that was more mockingly joking. Because I was like, if I became a priest, then I would know everything about God, right? And then I could really know if God existed or not. So, that was more of a mocking nature back in my childhood. But somehow, in some weird way, I didn't become a priest, but I did become something very close to it within the realms. And I do work with the Roman Catholic priests now, in hand. So it's weird how sometimes your dreams or your aspirations, in a weird way, come falling on your lap.
You're not part of a team, are you? Like paranormal team?
That was
PRI, parapsychology group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't get it though, Anthony. Okay, I had to ask.
No.
Yeah, well, it's the PP is paranormal phenomena. So we of course it is a paranormal group, but it is led by two doctors of social science. One does have a legitimate degree in parapsychology, and he also has a master's in psychology. So, and then the other one is a doctor in psychology, and they base the group. And then the co-director actually is Spencer Collier. He's a very well put together man. He's done some crazy things in his career life, but originally he was a UFO kind of guy. Was very well known in that sector of that field, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, people that run PPRI are pretty well-rounded people. It's been a group since 1997, so they've been around for a long time. And even Dr. Elliott was actually a member of the Royal Canadian Police as well. So they have the stuff together. There's a lot of procedures within the group. Like I said, we're also a nonprofit, so we do receive funds for going to people's houses by the organization in itself, and we do fundraising to raise those funds, because we're a nonprofit, and we do a lot of lectures and stuff like that as well to educate the public. The cool thing too, what they do have, and right now I'm going to be going in my last week, but they also offer an academic institute. It's called PEC, and they actually do courses every semester. So they usually a fall, winter, spring, and summer class. And two semesters of the year, I do an introduction to demonology course for the academic center. So that's something that I'm currently in the midst of right now. I'm going on my 4th week, and they do get some accolades for it. You know, it's not like you get the certificate, then you can call yourself a demonologist, but it's a certificate to know that you put your time and effort into it. There's, you know, papers you have to write that's APA cited. You have to take a final examination. You have to do discussion questions like you're actually in a true academic setting, like a university or college. So they put a lot of time and effort into these programs, either from the instructor, but as well the people that are attending these courses. It's not just like you listen to 4 lectures in the 4-week course, but you have to put effort and time into it as well. And it's gratifying because, you know, there's a lot of meat and potatoes in what you are being taught. So you really have to push forward and actually want to learn and be successful.
It's really refreshing to have an organization who focuses in on, of course, cherishing the education, not just, you know, a scientific of what does this piece of equipment do. It's much deeper into the psychology, of course, of it and the human nature with it. And it's almost like I don't want to say holistic, but a more down to earth method of research, investigation, and understanding of both sides, living and non-living, of what exactly is going on with said, you know, haunting and so on.
Right.
It's very refreshing to hear.
Thomas says he's learned so much and becoming a better investigator.
Yeah, so Tom actually was our investigator for Preceding Wars of St. Michael when we brought it back together. You know, Father Bob had originally founded it many years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago. And when he was on Paranormal, he actually was running PWSM. But yeah, so he had stepped away because he had to dedicate his time to the church. You know, he had a parish, so he had a congregation, and he also then had health issues. So that's why he's retired at a fairly young age for most priests. But so me and Father Bob used to collaborate in the sense of grabbing lunch and talking, and we did work on a case that actually appeared on My Ghost Story when that was a big show back in the day. But we had a case of ours that appeared on that, and we didn't necessarily appear, but the evidence and the investigators that brought it forth to us were on the show. And we worked together over 10 years ago, and then basically 10 years passed, and I went back on Facebook. Most people know I stepped away from Facebook almost 2 years and deleted my account through hectic things in my life and my own poor choices. But so when I got back, I seen him pop up, and I was like, let me send him a message, because I had a weird thing happen to me when in my dark time. I had like epiphany moment. Like I like to say it was God talking to me, but it was a stoic voice. It could be God, an angel, whatever, maybe my own subconscious. But I was told to not give up. You know, things will get better and great things will come your way as long as you put the effort in. So when I seen Father Bob's name come up, I just had like a light bulb go off and said, all right, let me reach out to him. And then because I knew he was stepped away, because, you know, he lives in Rhode Island and the community here is small, and paranormal itself, you know, if you've been involved in it for a long time, you know a lot of people. And so I said, let me reach out, let me see what he feels. And we met for dinner, and we both agreed that we'd bring back Presidium Wars of St. Michael as co-directors. And we did. And Thomas was one of the first people we brought on as investigator, because he's a hell of an investigator. He's newer in this field, but man, he has the eagerness to learn, dedication, and plus he has all the tools. Like, that man's armory. Probably has more tools than most people that I've ever met. But so when we absorbed into PPRI, because you know, Father Bob and I, it's hard to run an organization, and so, you know, we wanted more of a connection to an organization that had the nonprofit, the ability to finance the cases and stuff like that if we had to go out there. You even though if I work a good job or not, it's still difficult with the family and where we're at in the economy right now. Not to get political, but things are more expensive, so it's hard to put those funds and resources aside. So we thought it was a great move, and Dr. Elliott thought it was a great move, and so we absorbed into PPRI. Father Bob is a consultant, religious consultant for PPRI as well. But Thomas is a hell of an investigator, and he takes all PPRI members. I'm not saying you're easily going to get in PPRI, but all PPRI members have free tuition to PEC, so you can take as many courses as you want, and they bring specialists and experts in. I hate the word expert, but some of these people are actually they teach a ufology course, and the guy that teaches it actually is an astronomer. He actually has a degree in astronomy, so he actually kind of understands a little bit about beyond Earth and more than the normal person. So they bring these specialists and experts on to talk about these subjects, and Thomas, as soon as he became part of PPRI, I think he's on his third or fourth course now in the semesters. So he's like a sponge, and he absorbs, and I've been throwing a lot of work on him because he hasn't really worked with clients before, so I've been putting a lot of client work on him, and he's learning very well.
Is this something you can do online?
Yeah, you can. It's not free, unfortunately, because
Well,
like
I
I said,
know.
we're a
I'm just,
nonprofit organization, so we have to. But yeah, you can if you go to PPRI subsection on ppri.net that will talk about the academic center, and then you can apply
can you
for
put that in the
admission.
chat room?
Anybody can take it if you want,
James,
as long as the courses are available.
Can you put it in the
It
chat
won't let me
room?
message, but
Oh, okay.
it won't
Gotcha.
let me text in the.
John
It
will
won't
do
let
it.
me text in
I
the chat
gotcha.
room on StreamYard,
John
but
got it.
it's ppri.net. Okay,
Okay. A
perfect.
friend
Thank
of
you, sir.
mine has a message, like she says, I know her whole life, which I do. Anyway, have anyone ever experienced someone being taken over by a demon or a spirit? Can that really happen? How is that person relieved from that? So that can go to anybody.
Yeah. So in my experience with demons, they're very rare. Demonic possession's extremely rare. I've probably only come across 3 scenarios of that in my lifetime of doing this. Well, not lifetime, but pretty close, But in my life of doing this so far, I've only come across 3 cases that I would probably say that were on that kind of wavelength. And so it's very rare. Demonic possession doesn't occur all the time. For in other places of the regions throughout the world, it might. But for what my experiences are, I haven't come across many of them. As far as like a spirit attachment and then getting involved in controlling somebody, in some form, it's possible in reality, because everybody in some form or fashion has the ability to go into a form of trance or uncontrollability of our consciousness. And sometimes when we lose ourselves or we go into trance, things can take us over and use our motor skills and speak through us, move our arms or legs. So yeah, it's quite possible. I've definitely seen it in my time doing this, and it is a very scary thing if you're not prepared for it. And actually, I wish Sabrina was here, but me and Sabrina did a case very long time ago in New York where a spirit, a entity had taken over the client, and it was a very severe case. And I know
Wow.
Sabrina and I, every time we see it, we always remember it. But the moral of the story on that is it's not for everybody to experience that, because we brought 2 very, very well seasoned investigators. One was
Hi, Cindy.
a great both of them are great friends of mine, still are great friends of mine, but they experienced that, and it really threw their life in havoc. Something came home with them, really destroyed their life for a period of time, and really messed with their mentality of their life. So, not everybody's meant to see that, experience it, and if you, it probably, to be honest, it probably will create a traumatic point in your life, and so it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Well, she wanted to know how you can be relieved from that. What do you do to
Well,
relieve
okay,
the
that's
person?
easy. So if it's a lesser spirit, and if it's oppression, like, okay, so in demonic influence, there are 7 different forms of demonic influence, but the most famous 3 are infestation, oppression, and possession. If it's oppression, where the demonic entity is targeting that person, mentally, and breaking down their willpower and their faith, you can do a deliverance on these people, which is a lesser form of expulsion than an exorcism. But if it's demonic possession, then an exorcism is required to attempt to remove the entity within the person, and expel it to wherever it must go. But so yeah, there's 2 forms: is deliverances and exorcisms. There are other belief systems that have specific rites of exorcism or expulsion or removal, some people would call it. So there are different techniques. I come from a Christian foundation, so that's the foundation I use and believe in. But there have been um, um, forms of exorcism since Mesopotamian times, the agape, and to Hinduism, which is the oldest modern day religion, over 5,000 years old. The monks had the use of a furba dagger, which is, of course, symbolic, but real dagger, and they would absorb this demonic entity or this wicked spirit, and then disperse it into the ground, or disperse into a bowl of rice. I don't know what the bowl of rice would do, but that's their belief. So, but there are many forms of it. But like I said, I'm Christian, so I would favor that right and route more than anything. But to each their own, and power to all people. I don't try to say your belief is not better or better than mine, or not better than mine, but I try to stay in my lane, and if people of different faiths or different religious leaders reach out to me and have need my expertise, then they know where I'll come from with it. But the important thing about this work and dealing with ridding spirits is also understanding the people that you're dealing with, their faith, their mentality, and of course the best way to remove something. So there's a lot into it, but yes, there's a lot of different ways that you can remove something, a spirit. But it's also not to take too long on the question, because it is a very long answer that really could be talked about with this specific question. Is that also the person that's dealing with the affliction, either by spirit or demonic entity or some other form of entity, they also have to want it as well, because once it gets to the point where a spirit or demon enters you, in some form there's an invitational right. I'm not saying that they purposely say enter me, but there is a point in time where either they give up mentally, like they say it to themselves, and that allows this kind of affliction. So you also have to work on the person and rebuilding them up as well. And a lot of times, in a lot of cases that I've ever dealt with, after their long period of dealing with it or a short period of dealing with it, I tell them to go see a psychologist or psychiatrist or a therapist to talk it out with them. And
It's a good
I
idea.
try to find them the right person. We have with PPRI, thankfully, we have a lot of other clinical parapsychologists that we know. And I say clinical parapsychologists, they're actually clinical psychologists, but they also view paranormal realm as a possibility. So they will work with people that have this affliction afterwards. But there are also other psychologists and therapists that aren't maybe in the paranormal realm, but they're very holistic in their approach. And I always tell people, we can go together on psychology org, or you can look up what therapist you want in your area that can, is licensed to do so, and they're probably understand where you're coming from. So it's important to deal with the mental health aspect of it too, because there's a lot of that involved in demonic possession and as well spirit entanglement. So
Wow, that's a lot. It's not like on TV, huh?
No, not even close.
So James,
no,
what's
definitely
the
not.
one case? What's the one case that has stuck with you the most?
Good question.
That's a great question. I tend to bore people by saying the same stories over and over again because, it's when it comes to the demonic, it's been quite a few years since I've actually truly, well, dealt with it on a physical level. Like me and Father Bob just did a case in Rhode Island a couple months ago where we definitely felt like there was something there that you could call a wicked spirit or demon, because demon by definition is evil spirit. So we definitely felt like there was something there, and we, of course, the reason that we tended to believe this is because he had a holy relic, and when you pull the holy relic out, equipment and the environment kind of got a little weird, and equipment was starting to go off, and we were starting to have experiences. I was downstairs when that happened, and Thomas was with me, and another investigator was with me, and we definitely saw a shadow dart, and we have a video of it as well, that because we were rolling at the same time. So that was a case that was most recent. But as far as like my most prolific case that always follows me is the one that I first experienced a demonic entity, and I was actually called by, and this is earlier in my time of doing this, when I started getting on my own feet about it, because I was associated with Carl Johnson with Beyond the Veil Paranormal. But when I started going on my own feet, I was actually called into a case in Salem, Massachusetts, by a psychologist, and got involved in that case. And what I experienced and saw that night definitely will follow me for the rest of my life. But one thing that it actually did for me is because even though I believed in God at that point, there are a lot of priests and a lot of religious people that still don't believe in an incarnate evil, such as a demon. So you kind of have to experience it and then to realize and understand that it does exist. So it kind of made my faith stronger, because I then understood if there is evil there, that means good is definitely quite and probably possible. So that was the case that probably will always follow me. But I would say every case, even though I might forget clients' names or some details of it, every case that I've worked on for the past 14 or so years that I've been doing this kind of work has built me and made me the person that I am, because each new case is a new experience. Because like what I like to say, every person's different. So you can take a little bit of your experiences from the previous case, but when you come across a new person, it's a whole new case, whole new dynamic. Every single of those cases were something that will always follow me to this day.
Jeez, that's awesome.
So let's talk about the since AK mentioned about psychology. Let's talk about psychology. How many questions do you have for your psych test when you go into a case? And if you don't mind, can you share some of the questions that you ask? I mean, because I just recently watched some videos that blew me away about RAD. If people are not familiar with RAD, it was a 4-year-old. She was a 4-year-old that had RAD. RAD's an attachment disorder, and it supposedly involves trauma. And as a demonologist or somebody that is involved in that type of work, might mistake a possession for somebody that has RAD or bipolar 2. So we take that very seriously. We have to, by law, especially out here in the East Coast, it's very strict. I mean, it's strict all over the country, but we have to, by law, we have to give a psych test. We can't necessarily say that we are licensed psychologists. We can't necessarily say, oh, this is it and that, because it can bounce back. There's liability involved. I mean, there's a famous case in Europe with a possession case where The victim, the person they were trying to exorcise, was died during the exorcism from starvation, and the parents and the priest tried. You know what I'm talking about, James, and it's pretty serious stuff.
Annalise McKell.
Yeah, it's pretty serious.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's it. I just I'm curious myself because Sabrina has a whole bunch of questions. When she had Sanctuary Paranormal, she still has her questionnaire. I had a questionnaire back in like 2004 when I started venturing into negative cases. I didn't really get full fledged like they did, but I was involved in stuff like that. But I had a 50 questions, but she has I think 25 question psych test, right? I don't know how many questions you have. Go ahead. Sorry, my question is just like what?
Yeah, so that's actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Anthony. No, finish. I like to hear.
No, like how many? I meant like here's my question again. So, how many questions psych questions you have, and what are some of the questions, I guess, and how serious do you take it, and all that.
Yeah, no. So I take it very seriously. Yeah, so I take it very seriously. You know, for a lot of people that follow me and know me personally, know I just received my bachelor's in psychology, and I'm then going to be working on my master's starting in January, because it is my plan to then actually eventually become receive a doctorate in psychology. That's my end goal. It's going to take me a long time, but I definitely want to get it just for the credential and understanding, much knowing of what the human mind's capable of, neurological disorders, like Tourette's, that most people don't realize that Tourette's is actually a pretty big thing out there that's not diagnosed. So even neurological disorders can emulate demonic possession. But so as far as the mental health portion of it, somebody that's very fluent with the DSM-5 understands how many disorders there are out there. And I always tell people, if you read that book, you're going to find a disorder in there that you likely probably have, or will start thinking that like WebMD, oh, I have that. Oh my gosh, I need medicine or I need therapy. But I take it very seriously because I do tend to believe that 90% of what I deal with is actually mental health or confusion or misinterpretation of common physical and natural things. So as far as how I do it, and I want to add, I keep talking about PPRI a lot, but like I said, there are 2 doctors of social science in there, and as well, we do have a registered nurse, Barbara Cole Brown, that was a member of Presidium Warriors that brought into PPRI, but she's a registered nurse that actually deals on the mental health side of things. So and on top of outside of PPRI, I have a lot of other people that I've worked with in the past that I could fall upon if I feel like I get red flags during the questions. But as far as my questions, I have a questionnaire form that's probably 8 pages long that the client has to fill out, and that's personal stuff, that's medications they're on, what is their home life like, what do they do for work. I asked them if they've ever seen a psychologist. If they do, I do ask to talk to the psychologist or therapist. You can break HIPAA if they allow it and sign the paperwork. So, because I want to talk to them and say, hey, what is their disorder? What have they been assessed for? So I kind of do like a mini psychological assessment on these people. And the questions can be varied depending on the circumstance, what they're claiming, how long they've been dealing with this, what are the claims. So a lot of my questionnaire is boilerplated, and then I go upon more either through the next stage of the interview, and then I get a little bit more involved. But usually what is a great point for people that are honest is what medicines they're on, and most people in this country are on some form of medication nowadays. So that can tell you if they're having hallucinations, or if they're having trouble sleeping, if they're getting sleep paralysis. You can build based upon that 8-page questionnaire, that foundation, and then when you go into the next stages of the interview, build upon that. So yes, so I do attempt to look into their psyche. I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I can't go too in depth, but I can ask the basic and required questions that are needed to then kind of formulate. You know, Thomas and I are working on a case right now that we do feel bad for the person. We're going to help them. It's in New Hampshire, but you know, they do have calling signs of schizophrenia, and they don't want to
Wow.
deal with the psychologist. You know, so you know, we are going to go there and kind of ease them into trying to go that route, and also as well physically see how they live, see what their family talks about them. That's because that's also a big thing. I do interviews with families. So if it's a family, if there's a husband, wife, older children that are of age that can talk to you without parent consent or with parent consent, you know, asking them how their parents interact with them, how long has this been happening that you've been observing. So you know, these are things that you can get involved to understand where the person's at with their headspace and why they believe they're dealing with this. And you know, the case that we're working on right now is a pretty fine example of possible schizophrenia, but we also are working on getting him a clinical parapsychologist because he definitely thinks it's paranormal. And you know, so we want to lean on, not think he's crazy, but we want to help him because that's what we do as a parapsychology group. You know, we intertwine the two, and if it's one or the other, doesn't mean that we can't help you, but we can give you the right experts or a specialist within that field to help you. So yeah, but no, it's important for any time you're dealing with a client, even if you believe them, to always ask them psychological questions because as I always like to say, and I kind of hinted at it earlier, anytime that there is something severe going on or even minimalistic, there probably is a trauma or something apparent there that they need to also heal before they can get rid of those things. Because if you get rid of one thing and don't get rid of the other, they're just like a revolving door, and it can come right back, or something else come back. You know, a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure John, Debbie, Jody, I know you guys have abilities, but even with people with abilities that are like a conduit or a beacon, you know, if you're going through trouble in your life, you know, you might get a spirit that comes to you with similar traumas because they feel comfortable talking to you about it. So even in that sense, you know, you have to understand that the more that you have that is healed, that you know, these things can come back, or even worse, or things can intervene into their life. So it's important to definitely look at the mental health, extremely important. And you know, to quote Charles Dickens, right? One of his first writings was actually a beginning and ending chapters of a pamphlet called The Haunted House. And it was a part of a magazine back in the day that explored science and explored the paranormal, but it was called The Haunted House. A great read. And even back then in the late 1800s, he realized the etymology of the word haunted or haunting comes from the basis that there's no haunting unless the person is being haunted, right? So there has to be a human element that kind of triggers this, and we know residual happens, but there in a lot of cases that there's a human trigger that sparks this haunting. And so even back in those understandings, that you have to realize, why is there the trigger, what's the cause and effect of it. So that all falls into that line of what's that person's livelihood, what do they do, is there substance abuse, is there doubt, is there fear, is there any of these things that you can tackle naturally before you jump to the preternatural.
Now, do you believe that evil's evil, no matter if somebody has a mental condition or disorder? Do you think that even though they might be on prescriptions or they are seeking help and they still commit like what's considered an evil act, is that still a form of evil to you no matter what? Because we look at some of the cases involving younger, underage individuals that have like killed their parents or have thought about it. And I'm talking about RAD, bipolar 2. And some of these cases are very well known and they've been diagnosed as such, but and they did get help or they're on prescription or whatever, and they still commit these acts, do you still believe that they are still vulnerable to evil or evil spirits or demons, or do you think that there's still an influence there? There's still something there, or is it too complicated to discuss here?
Well, it's complicated in a sense, but it's also you have to walk a fine line before saying somebody that has a mental health issue and commits a heinous act and call them evil. Yeah, they did commit an evil act by killing somebody, but you also have to understand when certain people are in a manic episode or have psychosis, they're not necessarily fully there, and that's why a lot of killers in the past have tried to get off on sanity, right, and go to institution instead of prison. So you have to walk a fine line before you actually, shoot yourself in the foot. But it is quite possible, that you have a mental health issue, are on your medication, and very proactive on to your therapist, doing some sort of CBT, a cognitive behavioral therapy, or so on, and still doing that, and you still could be affected because there's still a weakness, there's still an ailment there that these entities, that if you truly believe that as old as they are, they're one step ahead of us. So there could be influence, but I don't think it's on every case to case basis, so to say. Like, I think it's a rarity where somebody will commit a heinous act with mental health, be on their prescriptions, and do something. But I think it's still a possibility and still a great thing to debate and have discussion about.
Yeah.
Of what level of evil is it? Is it incarnate evil in the sense of a non-corporeal being interfering in their life and controlling them or making them do that? And that's a discussion, and that is something, through the adaptation of an evolution of theology or even demonology in itself. Because demonology at one point in its day in the medieval ages was thought to be bad and dangerous. So, and many demonologists in the Inquisition killed people for religious persecution and burned and hung people. So, it's really evolved in our understanding of what is evil, why people do the things they do. And there have been a lot of people that do the line of work that I do and have committed evil. You talked about Annalise McKell, say her name, but there have been cases in America as well, such as the Devil Made Me Do case with Arnie Johnson. There was as well a team that went to Florida, and their form of exorcism was to burn the person alive, to burn the demon out of them, and it was a young teenage female woman. And so she luckily survived, but these horror stories are throughout. So it's on both sides of the coin of people doing heinous acts, either if it's mental health or people are trying to attempt to help people and are misunderstood. So evil can be coined many different ways. And, I definitely believe evil in many facets exist, but which level of evil is it is always heavily debatable, because there's going to be people throughout history, and I'm pretty sure we have all read this in our times of reading historical context and historical articles, is that there have been very insane dictators that have been equated to be either Satan or the devil, or be influenced by demons. And how true that is, that's of course subjective. There's no objectivity to it, but subjective, and you have to understand what's subjective and what's objective, and that's what I attempt to do. I try not to point the finger and say it's this without enough data to proclaim it as such. And I think that's what too many people do. They point the finger and want it to be something because it's easier to explain.
Right.
I have to plug in my computer. Sorry. You got to talk among yourself.
Okay.
I think it's a very important thing discussing this topic. And I know that Sarah is here in the comments. She's talking about how this sort of conversation or things that need to be discussed. It's an important topic that, as she said, that needs to be shared worldwide. And I feel that in a way that not only doing this work, so a lot of people who will watch this video back if they're not watching it live currently. Majority of them are paranormal investigators. Majority of them are people who claim that they will walk in and they're going to help the client and this, that, and the other. And then 9 times out of 10, who are they going to work and call? A demonologist, a psychic medium, a Reiki master, a shaman, because it's out of their idea of understanding, because of their own education, because of their focus is to be the investigator, not a researcher. And you can't, of course, use the phrase therapist, if you will, of course, unless if you're licensed. But doing this work and understanding that it's a very important thing that we all in this community need to grasp and understand, that when you open up, you're opening up to all good and bad. And understanding that not only what your client is going through on a psychological level in addition to a physical level, and what you will be bringing into the case physically, psychologically, emotionally, it really can affect or take away different things. And for myself, and you have brought up the idea of schizophrenia and that sort of mindset where a lot of people, of course, suffer from. And one of the number one things that I have a lot of times, of course, with my classes that I teach with opening your up and understanding your own intuition, is that everybody's like, I think I'm crazy because I'm experiencing this, or I'm hearing this, or I'm seeing this. And it's all very fine, definitive characteristics of schizophrenia. And so that's what they're fearing. And so I guess my question for, you at this point would be, understanding that as a possibility, have you ever by chance looked at the possibility of someone who is experiencing these things might also have some sort of deeper intuitive ability, and it's not so much so that they are schizophrenic, and they could also be experiencing it, but yet they don't understand how and why and what they are as a quote unquote psychic or medium or intuitive. Like what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's good. That's a good question, because as much as we, talk about the pineal gland and all, the third eye and all that stuff, I think if we believe that to exist, I think that everybody has some level of intuition, right? We always talk about 5 senses, but there's actually more, around like 33 or so senses that the actually human body actually incorporates into our daily life. So we're like sensory overload creatures, right? So every little thing could lead us into a different direction. And so some people will tend to think they're crazy, because, in a lot of places, this is still taboo for many different cultures. So, they're going to justifiably so think that they have this or that. But what I usually tend to tell people is, especially with what I do and I employ, as I try to, as much of the natural that I can target and push out of the way to see if there is something preternatural. And, before they start self-diagnosing themselves, they should reach out to somebody to come check, and not to jump to conclusions. We're at the stage of a WebMD mentality, where we look something up on YouTube, which is a bunch of malarkey most of the time. But and you watch a YouTube video, you go on WebMD, and you self-diagnose yourself, and you say, "Oh, I'm crazy. It's not this," or "It's a demon," but it's not that. So
Or I'm a
we
psychic
have to
now.
understand,
Yeah.
is if we come to the point where we yeah, if we feel we're uncomfortable, we do have to understand we all have a level of intuition. To what degree of a level it is important to understand. But we also have to understand that we have to tackle certain things before we jump to conclusions about I'm being crazy. If you think you're crazy, go get a psychological assessment. If you think it's a spiritual being, okay, contact a reputable person. I know the paranormal field doesn't have any regulators, which, it's a wild west in most time and cases, and people can be wherever they want to be and go into people's houses and cause mayhem. And I can't deny it. I've made mistakes in my time as well, in the field and on a personal level. But you get better and you learn from people. But
You're
if you
human.
feel like you're that person that you don't, yeah, if you don't know where you're going to go, which pathway you're going to go, you know, maybe go both pathways. Go figure that out. Go figure this out. And whatever one resonates with what's going on by the person you get involved with, then that's the route you go to, and you get a deliverance or a healing prayer, or you get your cords cut, a Reiki, whatever you feel is necessary for you to do. My only problem with it as well, though, is because it's such a wild, wild west, is you have to be cautious of who you reach out to. And I really do feel like you got to understand, a lot of the clients that reach out to me don't watch the paranormal shows. They don't know who Zach Bagans to Johnny Zaffis or friggin' Father Bob is. You know, a lot of these people don't know these iconic people that we look up to or don't like.
Good.
And so when they reach out, when they reach out, you know, there's a little confusion to them, and they don't know what's happening. So, you know, you have to. I like to say, when you're dealing with clients, I like to put my child gloves on, my oven mitts, and I like to approach it methodically, because you don't want to say the wrong thing. If they're claiming paranormal, you don't want to make it about the paranormal. Like when I go to a client's house, and I'm going a little further, but this is important to your question, is when I go to a client's house, I don't make it about the paranormal. I come there funny, somewhat serious, but I'm there to liven them up, enlighten them, and I try to let them talk about their situation, and I direct a little bit of the questions to what answers I want to receive, but I don't go there, kick down the door with a rock salt shotgun and say, "Where's the demons at?" You know, I go in there trying to observe and understand what their situation is, and then fold that around what I feel could possibly be going on. So it's important for people that don't know if it's a intuition issue or if it's a natural issue, that you need to figure out what issue it is before you start jumping to conclusions. If that makes sense, John. If that answered your question.
Guess who's here?
I see her. I hear her. We missed you the whole hour, Sabrina.
Sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. We'll see you again.
I want to have a very serious question towards Jane. With Jane, I'm going to tell. I have a very serious question.
Hi guys.
But
everyone, Sabrina.
It's been very serious tonight, but this is a serious subject matter. It's not. It's
yes, it is.
I just watched a documentary with Malachi Martin, and James, you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, of course we do. Like, he's like the legend. Like it's before Ed and
yeah, I know Martin, Hostage to the Devil.
Yeah, Hostage to the Devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so for you, well, did you ever have a case where you felt fear for your life? Was there a very close instance where you felt like you were going to die in a negative case that you worked, that you thought that was it, this might be it? I mean, you don't have to go into specifics. Obviously, you can't discuss specifics, but was there when he met that 4-year-old, that was it, you know? Yeah, it's a deep question. Yeah,
that's a deep question, brother. But you know why? Well, when you're doing this kind of work, it is very deep. And, you know, Sabrina herself, that knows, you know, being a member of Sanctuary Paranormal when she was the director of it as well, you know, I know she knows wholeheartedly the situations.
You got yourself worked up, Anthony.
The situations we get involved with. Yeah, but as far as fear, I necessarily have never had that level of fear. I try to stay emotionless when I'm involved in cases, because I don't want to lean too left to the right to be affected internally, emotionally, physically, psychologically. You know, I've never really had a physical attack ever. As far as an experience, I can say that really did instill some sort of doubt or fear, if you want to use that terminology, was a case that I dealt with in Western Massachusetts with a family of 5, a husband and wife and 3 kids. And I do talk about case here or there because it does bring back some bad memories in a sense. So that maybe this is answering your question to a degree as well from earlier. But so I usually, like I said, I have a multiple stage interview. I do an email interview where I send the questionnaire, they fill it out. Then I do a phone interview, kind of do the same questionnaire over again. And the reason is because I want to see if they're mixing up their story, changing their story. There's a reason for that, because if they're changing their story too much, then you kind of know what direction that you're going to lean towards. But so it was a family and they had kids. So when there's anytime there's kids, I try to be very proactively getting there fast, regardless of the distance, if I can make it or not, or get somebody else involved. Because if there is nothing going on, they're putting their emotion and their fear onto the children, which then will create development issues with these children, and they're going to be scarred for the rest of their lives, likely. So you want to get involved for that reason. But if there is a true circumstance going on, you don't want to get to the point where they're, because children are very gullible and very imaginative, so they're sometimes easy prey due to this, because they'll let their guard down and open line of communication more than somebody that is has questions to it might hesitate. But so I spoke to the client Saturday night, and I said, I'll be there next Saturday. Give me, I know it sucks that you have to deal with this for a week, but I will be there Saturday. I work a job. I can't take vacation off that week. I have to give enough notice. So I said, I'll be there Saturday. I don't really dream much or have nightmares much, because I'm not really a very imaginative person, and people that have imaginations and dream a lot, and that's actual science. You have some form of level of artistic capabilities, you dream. If you're imaginative, you dream. If you're a daydreamer, you and have these ambitions that are too far in the future, full of an anxiety thing, then you will tend to dream. So but but so I went to sleep that night, and I went into this dream state, or more so nightmare. And it started off with me appearing in the car driving with my team. I always go with multiple people because of liability issues, and then of course reasons of, you don't know who you're dealing with, you don't know if you're gonna get locked in the basement in a cage kind of scenario. So I go with multiple people. So I'm driving with my team, and so we get to the client's home. And mind you, to give you a little backstory, and this is going to be a little long-winded, but I had only seen pictures of arms where scratches occurred, or other forms of demonic influence might have happened, such as things that were appearing per the parents' explanation out of this world. Like, they just would appear, or they would see them manifest, and then they would take a picture of it. So I had only seen arms. I'd never seen like their property, like specific full rooms or furniture layouts, or what their outside of their house like, or the environment around their houses, or the house looked like, which it's Western Mass. So houses are a little bit more far apart than if it's a suburban area. But so we're driving up, I pull up to the house, saw the surroundings, tree layout, what kind of siding, what kind of roof they had, and the houses in the distances. And the family comes out and greets me, the three little children, the husband and wife, the mother and father, however you want to interpret it, come out, greet us. We go in, we do the normal thing. I do a walk through the property. I want to see how they live. I want to see if they're hoarders. I want to see if they're unclean, if it's a dirty house, how their children live, what their clothes look like. I want to see if they didn't say they were on medicines, if there's prescriptions laying out, or paraphernalia, stuff like that. So I do a walkthrough, and then I sit down with the client and do another interview with them. Usually a third point interview. And so we sat down with the lady, did the whole shebang of the whole questionnaire again, maybe further questions, and then instead of getting up and helping the family, it happened like instantaneously, where it became like a Saw movie or a Hostile movie. I started killing the family and butchering them and doing heinous things to them in my nightmare. So I killed three little children, I killed the mother and father, and I woke up startled, sweating, and I'm like, whoa, what just happened? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm having this nightmare about this family that I never saw. You know, they full body. You know, I seen what the kids look like, their dimples, their hair, their hairstyle, what they were wearing, the mother and father, what they looked like, even though I really never had seen pictures of them. So it all like materialized in this nightmare. And so you would think, okay, well, it's just a nightmare. It's my imagination coming forth. You know, I'm nervous because there's children and I want to get there as soon as possible. The weirdest thing is, you know, there was some self-doubt where I said, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't get involved because maybe this is a message. This is a warning sign, a firing shot of if you come here, this is what's going to happen. And so there was a little bit of nervousness, but I'm too freaking stupid. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go. The odd thing is we went that Saturday, same team members in the nightmare. We pulled up to the house. The houses in the distance were the same. The tree layouts were the same. The siding was the same. The color was the same. The roof was the same. That kind of struck me when I pulled up, and I kind of like had an anxiety attack for a second. I'm like, oh gosh, like this is how is this coming to fruition? And what even startled me more when I got out of the car, guess who comes out to greet us? The children and the husband and wife, the greet us, just like how it happened in the nightmare. And what's even more absurd is that they were wearing the same clothes, they had the same hairstyle, the same hair color, the same dimples, the same characteristics as the nightmare. When I walked in, same layout of their house, same furniture placements, same everything. And it was just like for a second I had to collect myself because I'm like, okay, well, you have that self-doubt. Like maybe this is what is happening. Like they want to have this fear so that it can lure me away or push me away, or even in the same sense, maybe it would take me over because I have this chink in my armor. But then I collected myself and I said, okay, well, this is happening and I have to collect myself. I'm here for this family. I have to put my head back on my shoulders or my neck, however you want to say it. But I, did help that family. I do believe it was demonic infestation, and I did deliverance over the property and said prayers for the family. And they called me back one other time because they were experiencing something outside the window, outside their house, like shadows going past the windows and stuff, and it was scaring them. But I said, remember what I told you. Remember what advice I gave you. Remember what prayers I gave you, and stick by this. And after that, I never heard from them again because I'm assuming that it worked for them. But that is a case where I had the really closest form of fear because like it was startling. It really kind of showed me that these things, regardless of where they are, can reach to great lengths to deter you or to make you self-analyze the possibilities of what you're getting involved into. But yeah, that was a case that I definitely will always definitely remember, and maybe that should have been Debbie's answer, but I'm glad that you got to that point, Anthony, because it really came full circle. But yeah, that was the closest case that I had fear in, because I think anybody, if were in that situation, it probably would scare them or shock them as well.
Debbie and
And
John,
see,
do you
now-
ever experience anything like that, like demonic? Debbie and
well,
John.
I will say this: as far as demonic, for me to say demonic, and Mom, I mean, you can chime in too with this. No, not demonic. I think there's a lot of, and we've talked about this on previous shows too. And even we actually talked about that on the demonology panel too, is that there are a lot of self-manifested hauntings that are derived from your own psyche and the energy that you put out. And see, now on the flip side, James, I will throw my metaphysical, intuitive twist on that. That what you experienced was a premonition, but I think it encompasses our human side too of our own fears. And so we want to protect the kids, the family, this, that, and the other. And because we our own, and when I say ego, it's not a bad thing. This is we get in the way of the information sometimes. and we don't interpret it as,
Mhm.
okay, this is what's potentially could happen. Obviously, not saying you're going to do that. That's not my point. But my point is that you have the human side that ties right with the premonition. Then they can cross over, and it can cause a lot of extra anxiety and fear, if you will, and a lot of hesitation when it comes to doing this sort of thing. But to
You
answer
say,
your
Debbie.
Say
Debbie,
that again.
what do you
Oh.
think in this subject?
John and I have talked about this before, so we're pretty much on the same page. Like demonic, no. Some entities that have not been all that nice, yes, but nothing to where, excuse me, that we're very fearful of. I guess I don't want to put that out there, but
knock on wood.
yeah, knock on wood. Yeah, nothing that we thought we were in over our heads and needed help for.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I
nothing
think it
like that.
also raises the question, because we've experienced different earthbound elemental energies. That's a whole different ball game when it comes to working with hauntings and different cases and different experiences. But yeah, I think that, and that's exactly like what James was saying. And you hear a lot of other you know intuitives, you hear a lot of other people who specialize in demonology, if you will, who will say the same thing, is that coming across a real true demonic haunting is extremely rare.
I believe
And
that.
I think that those who do experience that, as James, we talked about right at the launch in the beginning of the show, is you never woke up one day and was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. Nobody ever wants to experience something that could potentially harm them, or
Right.
nobody wants to wake up and have to, in a way, be the quote unquote middleman for a savior to help heal. Nobody wants to be in the line of battle, if you will, of that sort of thing, but it's a calling. And every experience, no matter where you are, and for anyone who's watching now, or you can take it however you will, if you resonate with it, then that's good. The life path that you are on, you are meant to be on it. Everything that you experience in this world is meant to teach you something that you are meant to carry with you. And if you believe in like the Akashic records and so on and so forth, you are meant to experience those things in your life, to learn the lessons to move forward on. And you have the free will to decide what exactly you're going to do with that information. And now, when it comes to the idea of your free will being taken from you, that is the ultimate goal, I feel, of demonic hauntings. And it is a very, very, trying to find the right word, very in-depth, if you will, thing to understand. But the more that you work with understanding and educating yourself and working with individuals like James, and just simply to have the education and the knowledge to know exactly what you're walking into, or even what you're experiencing on an every day-to-day basis, there's good and bad everywhere you go. So
Yep.
understanding that you have, again, that free will, it's an empowering sort of thing, but also experiencing things where it's put in your life for a reason. It's the whole saying, everything happens for a reason. There are no coincidences in this world. There are no things that just seem like, oh, that's a fluke. Everything that you experience is meant to be for you. So I don't know what made me want to go off this tangent. Totally not related to tonight's topic, but somebody needed to hear that.
That was very good, John. I'm proud of you. But I think
Thanks.
It was.
we need
Very
to
well
thank
done.
James for coming on tonight. We need to have him back because his topics were very informative. And I think people listening now and if they tune in later, they're going to learn a lot. And I thank everybody here for going an hour later than we normally do. I appreciate your doing that for me. By the way, our team won tonight.
Oh, there you go.
Yay.
And there was about 100 little kids running around, and we had to give them all lollipops. So that was the best part.
So, James, for those who want to learn more about you, PPRI, where can they go and talk with you and kind of, learn more about everything that you do?
Yeah, so I'd say my website, my name, jamesnito.com, but if it's hard to spell that, it's, I don't know how I got it, but it was fortunate, God willing, right? But you can go to demonology.org. It will link to my website. You can go to send me an email at jannitto@ppri.net. And if you're very respectful about it, because trust me, if you know me, I can disrespect you back. But 401-808-7416. If you're really in need of help, please reach out to me. Send me a text. Say you heard this. You're dealing with an issue. You can text me, and I'll reach right back out to you. But
That's awesome.
phone call away, email away, website away, and please, if you're in need, contact me. And if I can't help you because you're at a distance, I will find somebody that is close to you to help you.
Thank you, Lisa, and everybody else that's watching and came into the chat room and really gave us some informative quotes in the chat room. I really appreciate that. We're going to try to get back here again in 2 weeks. We'll figure out a day, but we will let you know. And anybody wants to be our guest, let us know. We're looking for a guest too, right?
Yep.
We're
Thank you,
booking guests for
Anthony.
the end of the year.
Yep. Anthony,
I'm
Debbie, and John.
gonna throw a plug in there. You could have Father Bob on.
Okay.
Give
We'll
us
have
the
to have
name.
you both come on and talk about what your series is that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
There you go. You can come back in 2 weeks.
Just like that.
I'll talk to him on Tuesday. I'll talk to him on Tuesday. I'll talk to him on Tuesday. But as of was that the 16th? I think, right?
We're looking at probably that Thursday, I guess, because Debbie and John can't make it that Wednesday. So we want
the
everybody.
17th.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All
We'll
right.
probably
Yeah,
have
just
to do another
send me a
9 if that's
message.
okay.
Send me a message, and I will talk to Father Bob about it. And I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's
We
totally
can learn
fine.
some more. I think I've learned a whole lot here, and I'd have a lot of questions, but I think it's getting late, and we need to go bye. But thank you, everybody, and thank you,
One more
James.
hour. One more hour. Just kidding.
You'll be back in 2 weeks. Bring your friend, and hopefully that'll work out.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate
Always,
it.
James. I miss you when I don't see you, so it's nice to see you again. But good night, everybody.